remember, and I sent the link through our chat of the presentation where we have the month by month potential plan that you can use. You can use that and adapt it if it serves you. I'll give you some ideas of what we're doing here, what we do here, and hopefully it'll be of some value to you. You can change it and adapt it as you want. This is going to be more specifically dealing with campus ministry. And obviously we're dealing with the US context. And so hopefully the principles will be pulled out and you can use them for yourself to see however they meet your needs. Okay, so when it comes to public campus ministry, it's important for us to note that there's a difference between Adventist campus ministry and every other kind of campus ministry. The Seventh Adventist Church is unique not only in its theological foundations, but the theology of Adventism is all-encompassing. In other words, you cannot separate theology from lifestyle, and this is what makes Adventism unique. This is what makes it powerful, in that our theology is a very practical theology. It impacts our health. It impacts the way we live, our lifestyle. It impacts our medicine. It impacts our educational system. It impacts every aspect of this. And so it also impacts the way we do public campus ministry. Most churches, most denominations practice what is called a congregational or parachurch organizational kind of public campus ministry. By parachurch organizational, we mean that the campus ministry is separate from their denominational structure. They are in themselves their own 501c3s, like for example, Campus Crusade for Christ or Navigators, these kinds of ministries that exist globally, InterVarsity. These are all parachurch organizations. Although they might have some type of denominational affiliation, they exist as separate entities from the church. They are also congregational in nature in most cases. Most churches are congregational in nature, meaning that the local church makes the decisions and they are in themselves self-sustaining units. The Seventh Adventist Church is vastly different in its organizational structure from these entities. The way that we're different is that we believe in a system of churches, in a systematic organization. And so the local church that I am a part of is also a part of the global church. And so in this way, the goal of Adventism is always to empower the local area, the local chapters, the local ministries to do the work. And so in this context, we essentially boil down public campus ministry to three major areas: leadership, evangelism, and discipleship. When we talk about leadership, we're talking about investing in group legacy. Public campus ministry is your student organization cannot survive long-term if someone is not taking the opportunity and someone is not in their mind intentionally investing in the legacy, not of yourself, but of the group. And we'll talk about how to do that. Evangelism is simply preparing for sowing and reaping events. And discipleship is making a spiritual master plan that will impact your entire group. And so we won't talk about all of these in detail, but we'll try to go over as many as we can through these things. Let's talk about leadership here. Leadership is going to boil down to, we're going to talk about, we're going to try to now get into a more specific approach to these things. So when we're talking about leadership, first of all, we want to address the element of self-management. And a true leader, in order for a true leader to be effective, which Pastor Justin just gave a presentation on, in order for a person to be an effective leader, there must be an element of self-management. And really what Pastor Kim's presentation is essentially that. It's essentially a presentation on self-management, and the habits, who the leader is, will ultimately determine what the organization becomes. There's a famous book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and one of those laws is called the law of the lid, and that is that rarely the group will rise above its leader. And so it's important for us as leaders to look at ourselves for the sake of the group and manage ourselves and put ourselves under a self-management routine. And I appreciated the presentation that was just given a little bit ago. So I'm going to try to build on that a little bit, and not go as deep into that. That presentation is timeless, and it appeals and it applies to all people. And so I feel like that's been enough of some information on this. But let's talk about self-management. First of all, it's important for us as individuals to define our core values and personal vision. When you are on this campus, we have to realize that you've been called there. You're not there by accident. You didn't get there because you have the brilliance that it takes to get there. Yeah, I'm sure you're all very brilliant people, but the Lord is the reason why you're there. And so the reason why you're there, the reason why he's placed you instead of anyone else, is because of the person that you are. And so define what your core values are and create a personal vision for not only for your life, but also for your campus ministry. Not only for your campus ministry, but also for your life. You are intertwined. You are intersecting in this point in your experience. So define your core values, personal mission, and vision. What are the top 3 things, the 3 most important things that you want to do or that you want to improve? List them in a form of a question. What can I do, or how can I, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to go into that in just a little bit. Outline some goals. Your goals should be SMART. We're going to go over that in just a little bit. And the key to success is aiming for a few goals instead of many. And this is the challenge that many of us face as young people, is that we have far too many goals. We want to accomplish far too many things. We want to have excellent grades. We want to be part of, the engineering student organization, the Adventist student organization, the Christian student organization, the international student organization. All these different goals, it's best to, when you're looking for a successful person, you're going to realize that in many situations, the reason why they're successful is because they have a select group of goals, limited group of goals, and they invest their energies into accomplishing them. Define things that require your attention. Remember that success always begins in the mind, and what we think about, what captures our mind, the thing that we are investing most of our mental energy in, will ultimately be the things that we invest our physical energy in and our financial resources into. And so everything begins in the mind. And so start thinking, what are the things that I want to think about? What are the things that I want to focus on? As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Set your affections on things above. That means think on things that are above, not on things of the earth. Constantly in scripture, you find this counsel, this advice to engage your mind in something, because where your mind goes, there the rest of your person will follow. So define your attentiveness, the things that you will focus on. What are the things that you need to be constantly mindful of in order to develop a character that you want to achieve, the person you want to become? And from there, your core actions will follow. Sorry, I got to turn my email off so it stops dinging. What are the things that you need to be constantly mindful of? We talked about that. Develop a personal plan. Always remember that if, as a leader, we don't focus on our personal development, we will affect negatively, we will have a negative impact on the people that we are leading. And so this is not an act of selfishness, but as we said yesterday, Jesus said, for myself I sanctify, or for these I sanctify myself. In other words, Jesus sanctified himself for the sake of others, and in like manner we are to sanctify ourselves. We are to develop ourselves for the sake of others. And so develop a personal plan. And your personal plan, when you're thinking about this, the foundation of it will essentially have 2 components: your time and your thoughts. What you think about should be manifested. Your goals you should make goals for what you want to accomplish on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis. This should be included in your life. So if you want to become someone, if you want to become something, This must be a part of your daily, weekly, and monthly activities. Also, thinking. The challenge that we have, and this is to balance what Pastor Justin was saying in terms of acting too hastily and not acting quickly enough, acting too slowly. The idea is, in many situations, we act too hastily without thinking. Acting hastily doesn't mean that you act swiftly. It means that you're not thinking about what your actions, the impact of your actions. And so dedicate some time to think constantly about your goals so that you don't become a meaningless routine and your habits don't become weeds that have gone out of control that produce no fruit. So let's go now into time management. It's important not just to analyze time, but to analyze time management. Let's look at ourselves as average people. The problem that we face in many situations is that we always think we are the exception to the rule. This is something that I've encountered in my life, and I've encountered in the life of many young people. Several years ago, I got into the sport of triathlon in an effort to become a healthier person. And my biggest weakness has always been running. As you know, triathlon, you start swimming and then you do a cycling, and then after that you run. And my biggest weakness was always running. I hated running. And I have various different challenges in my mind that I created in my mind. One of the first challenges that I have is a physical challenge. My feet are impronated. Instead of walking like this, my feet come in this way. And so this is how I walk. And so I said to myself, surely this is the reason why I have such a hard time running. You know, my feet get tired easily. I also made up the excuse of when I was young, I made bad choices. And so now I have a poor health. I've inherited a poor health from my family. And I would often make these excuses as I was reflecting with my wife on my lack of success in running. And she said something to me that really struck me. She said, Israel, you need to think of yourself as an average person. Don't put into your mind this idea that you are an exception to the rule, because if you do, if you place in your mind this idea, this concept that you are an exception to the rule, then you will always find excuses to not achieve the goals that you've set for yourself. And sure enough, the moment I began to think of myself as average, nothing special, I'm not better than anyone else, but I'm also not worse than anyone else, I began to find more success in my running. And now I actually run, for the most part, I run every single week, usually about 3 miles or 5 kilometers a day. So when it's coming to analyzing time, let's think of ourselves as average people. Let's not think to ourselves, oh, I am busier than the average person. I have so much to do. I'm a student, I'm a worker, I'm an international student. I have to also learn these extra elements. I'm an extraordinary circumstance. No, let's think of ourselves as average people when it comes to time management. Also, we'll talk about creating a time management quadrant that many of you might already be familiar with. The idea with this time management quadrant is that we should invest more time in the things that are important and avoid investing time in things that are not important. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. And then create the best days schedule, meaning that it would be important for us. Pastor Kim talked about journaling, and I certainly resonate with that. I have my own journal. I have a journal for my family as well. We have a family journal, and we have tasks that we assign to each person in our family that helps us move along, and we then evaluate these plans. And this helps us to become successful people and a successful team and a successful family unit. And so create best days schedule, meaning that Mondays can be your day for your meeting, Tuesday can be your day for your outreach, et cetera, et cetera. And this helps in your mind. It helps you develop routines that make you more efficient and successful. And then always plan for tomorrow. Never forget the critical importance of always planning ahead, so that you're ahead of the ball game. If you've heard that very famous saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so your daily items should be planned daily. Weekly items should be planned weekly. Monthly, you should look at them at least once a month. And yearly, you should plan at least once a year. People management. Leadership is not just personal development and time management, but it's also leadership or people management. So discover your personality. What kind of personality do you have? And based on who you are, it's important to know who you are, because once you have a realization of how you view yourself and how other people view you, then you are able to determine how you can be understood. And I have a very shy personality, and really I force myself to put up a facade, you know, and because of the work that I do. And so because of the shyness of my personality, when people look at me, they think that I'm a very hard person. You know, often people tell me I look angry, and it's not that I'm angry. It's just that I'm shy. And so after understanding what my personality is, then I now am able to develop how I can be understood. And so when I speak with people and I get the impression that they think I'm angry or I'm sad, I'll just make a joke, or I'll let them know, hey, when you think I'm mad, I'm not mad. I'm just in reflection thinking. And I'll get to that in just a little bit as well as we go down the next page. So discover your personality, and based on who you are, determine how you want to be understood. Also discover who your team members are, because otherwise there's also a conflict. If you don't understand who your teammate is, if your teammate doesn't understand who you are, this is a recipe for organizational challenges and catastrophe. So seek to understand who your members are, and seek to understand them in the way in which they wish to be understood. And then finally, define rules of engagement. After you've established a mutual understanding, discuss the most effective ways to operate. And this can be done in campus ministry. It can be done in families. It can be done in relationships and friendships, every aspect of your life. This is Pastor Kim's. He loves doing this. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a funny story here. When he got engaged, when he proposed to his wife, he called a group of us to be with him, and we took the weekend off. He forced all of us to take holiday time, and we went over there and we all got together, and he surprised his girlfriend, who is now his wife. And we were all gathered together in Canada by the Niagara Falls. And one of the funniest things about the weekend was that he forced all of us to take a personality test. And he brought this book and he gave us a personality test. The funny thing about it is that my wife and I were complete opposites in personalities, the complete opposite. And it was eye-opening for me, because I don't know how long we had been married by that time, but we've been married for several years. And it's the first time I discovered that we were complete opposites, and I realized why we always viewed things differently. As a matter of fact, for me, I realized at some point in my experience that if I wanted to know what my wife was thinking, I would have to force myself to think, what is something that no one in this world would ever think? And that would be what my wife is thinking. And the same with her. She would think to herself, there's no way on earth anyone would ever think this. And she would say, and I said, Judy, you know me so well, you know? And so after we discovered this, after we discovered the vast difference in our personalities, we were able to then define rules. And so we were able to establish better communications routines. And so I would be able to say, if you say something and I act this way, the reason why I'm acting this way is because of this reason. It's not because I'm mad, but I need time to think, or I need time to process, and so forth and so on. So discover who you are, discover who your team is, and after you've been able to do that, then you can define rules of engagement. How will you communicate and function as a team? All right, this is an insight into my life in the year 2016 and 2017. This is what I did. First of all, I asked myself, I set myself these goals. How can I develop a healthier lifestyle? I wanted to be a healthier person. And so that was one of my goals. My second goal was, how can I ensure to be with my family more. One of the challenges of my work is that it pulls me away from family too much. And so I needed to be more present. And there's never an excuse to neglect important aspects of your life. Just because you're involved in a very intense study program does not mean that you can neglect other aspects of life, whether it's family or personal health or spirituality. So for me, it was family. How can I ensure to be with my family more? And how can I practice more self-denial in my life? This is where I was in 2016, 2017. I wanted to practice more self-denial in life. So based on these three core things, I developed some goals. And the goals that I developed were, I wanted to run a marathon. I failed in that goal. I never ran a marathon. I wanted to write a book. I somewhat failed in that goal. And I also wanted to hold an evangelistic meeting, which I was able to succeed in. Because I did not succeed in these other goals, I transferred them over the next year. And I didn't give up on these. I had to evaluate what was it in my experience that prevented me from doing this. And to this day, I have not run a marathon, which I've changed that now to just being able to run more consistently rather than running a marathon. And running for me, by the way, is self-denial. I do not appreciate or like that. I hate it, but I do it. All right. So I also had some goals for my family life. And one of those goals was visioning. I wanted to teach my children how to be visionaries. And, we live in a society now where families are being divided. And so my wife and I, we talked about what we can do as a family to encourage our kids to vision. And so we brought our children into our planning circles, and we now have family meetings that are officially conducted. We even have a family Supreme Court, which we heard a case this week, my son. It is the case of fairness and inclusiveness. He had a complaint against his brothers regarding fairness and inclusiveness. And so we had a Supreme Court hearing. And we want to teach them to be visionaries. And so we had that. The other thing is that's important for us, our family values, is the value of vacation, holiday time. We have a certain amount, limited funds that we have in our income. And there are very few things that we care about. We don't care so much about the clothes that we wear, which gets Brother Justin upset with me when we do inverse recordings because I have a limited supply of clothing. He's now even volunteered to buy me more clothes so that I have more variety. But we spend all of our money. The reason is because we're spending all of our money on our holiday and vacations. Another thing which our family deals with is technology. We want times where there is no technology. And finally, I want to sit down to eat at least one meal a day. These are the goals that I had for my family there. In order to accomplish these goals, so I had these top goals here. In order to accomplish these goals, I broke them down into goals for my family and so forth. If I want to be healthier, how am I going to do that? I have this goal of running a marathon. If I want to spend more family time, how do I do that? Vision with my family, set goals for my family. If I want to practice more self-denial, how do I do that? I try to write a book, hold an evangelistic meeting, et cetera, et cetera. Attentiveness, these are things that I try to reflect on more often, as much as possible. One of them is to smile. People tell me I'm always mad, so I said, hey, I need to practice my smiling more. So I've tried to be more smiley, hug my wife daily, be calm, even when things are intense or I feel like getting angry, always maintain a spirit of calmness, read, pray, meditate on the word of God, swim, run, and bike. I also wanted to develop the habit, or put in my mind the need to encourage people more, to be more encouraging, to reflect on life, and to drink more water. So this is the thing. And I drew this here. If you want to print this out and make that for yourself, you can do that. So this is dealing with, my goal for the year was to develop happiness. Happiness is something that does not come, but it's something that is developed. And this was my goal in developing that. So you have an insight into my life. If you want to do yours, you can do yours. Here's some space. You can print it off. I'll give you this document. All right, let's manage our time. How do you manage your time? First, you can record the activities. This is a sheet that I got on the internet. just one of the ways in which you can analyze how you spend your time is by writing down, making a log, journaling how you're spending your time in increments of half an hour. So you can say in your half hour increment, what am I doing here? What am I doing there? What do I do from 5 to 5:30, 6 to 6:30, etc. After you've done that, after you map out a day, and this is funny because sometimes I meet with people and we're talking about time management, and as I have no time, Pastor, I have no time. All right, so how do you spend your day? Well, I typically like to spend 3 hours doing my devotional time. All right, that's what you like to do, but what do you do? Well, most of the time I do 2 hours. By most of the time, what do you mean by most? What did you do today? Oh, today I did 10 minutes. So it's like, we have to be realistic with our time, not what we want to do, but what we actually do. Not what we actually do, but what we have done. I would do this based on your day yesterday. How much time did you spend? What did you do from 5 to 5:30, 6 to 6:30? And then you write down this log, you log your time. After you've done that, then you determine whether the activity was a priority or whether it was not a priority. And so can you see me marking this here, my circles? Or no, can you see me, okay. So if you look at quadrant, this is the quadrant, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are things that we do that are urgent and important. I got this from Stephen Covey. There are things that we do that are not urgent, but they are important. There are things that we do that are urgent, but not important. Excuse me. And then there are things that we do that are not urgent and not important. An example of things that are not urgent, not important are playing video games. Some things that are urgent but not important to the calling of life might be things that are not going to advance your mission, but there are things that need to get done, things that are time sensitive. For me, it would be taking out the trash, answering email, taking phone calls. These are urgent things because they require an immediate response. If the phone is ringing, all of a sudden this becomes an urgent thing. Is it important? Is it not important? I don't know because I haven't answered it, right? But I have to make a decision immediately. This is what defines urgency. I have to make a decision immediately based on a time deadline. Things that are not urgent but important, visioning, it's not urgent. We don't think of it as something that is urgent, but it is very important. If you don't plan today, even though there's not a deadline for planning, then you're not gonna succeed in the future. And then things that are urgent and important are things that demand a time-sensitive response, and at the same time are urgent. So finally, you decide which activities deserve more of your time. You want to spend your time doing things that are 1 and 2, things that are important, and you want to find ways to eliminate things that are not important and not urgent. Things that are not important, things that are urgent but not important, things that are not urgent, not important. Those are things that you would want to delegate off to someone else so that you as a leader can focus on the top. All right, after you've done that, you then should, what are the activities that deserve more time, less time, and then how do you plan for tomorrow? All right, best day's schedule. This doesn't have to be complicated, very simple. Sundays are best for me right now, Sundays are best for gardening. Mondays are best for meetings. Tuesdays are best for phone calls. You're gonna do Zoom meetings or whatever. Wednesdays are best for visitations, right? And you go on the line here. What is the main activity that you're doing on that day? And then you want to outline that, and then give yourself 3 goals every day. What are the 3 things that I need to accomplish to fulfill that? All right, your personality test. You want to manage yourself and manage others, and this is something that this is the very famous personality test, Myers-Briggs personality test. And if you want to do that, they have free tests online that you can use. And let me see here. I can try to share this with you here. The test. So actually, Justin, would you mind doing that? Just if you have time, just put on the chat because I don't see how I can chat this. All right, let me see. Yeah, I don't. All right, I don't know how I can chat this. So if Justin can do that, that's great. If he can't, I'll do it later. Okay, so am I still sharing my screen? Yes, I am. All right. So personality test. This is what I would do. I would get together my student organization and then have everyone share their personality test, or have everyone take the personality test. And after you've there we go. After you've taken the personality test, um, I would have I would do this together. Obviously, after being quarantined, when everyone comes back, and then I would use a chart like this, and then write the names of the results. So if you're an ISTJ, which if it doesn't make sense, it'll make sense once you've taken the test. Essentially, this is what you do. I sent the link. You take the test. The test will ask you questions. You will answer those questions. Once you answer the questions, you will be categorized into one of 16 different personalities. ENFP, INFP, INFJ. These will make sense. These will make sense to you later after you take the test. They essentially define what your personality is. You're categorized into one of 16 personalities. And so you write your name where you are. If you are an ISTJ, you write your name there. And then you write the names of your team members. What categories do they fall under? After you've outlined what categories they fall under, then you begin to realize what is the makeup of your team. What is the personality makeup of your team? And then you're able to begin to discuss, okay, based on these personalities, how do we intersect? We have a high level of introverts among a small level of extroverts. How is that going to affect our ministry? It does affect ministry in many ways. And you want to use those to help your leadership in building team. Let's go quickly. We have 10 minutes talking about evangelism. Evangelism is preparing for sowing and reaping events. How do you do evangelism? First of all, generate ideas. When we're talking about generating ideas, I like to talk about a balance. Many times people have these awesome goals. You know, there's 3 people in my campus ministry, but we want to hold a campus-wide evangelistic campaign of 3,000 people. You know, you don't want to have too many goals like that because you're never going to be able to accomplish them. So I would always say strike a balance between goals that are reasonably achievable. In other words, think to yourself, what is a reasonable goal that I can attain? And then also transformational goals, goals that will help you become someone better. So something that will stretch your faith a little bit. So you want to, if you're going to have 3 goals, make 2 of them goals that are reasonable and 1 goal that is perhaps more transformational, a little bit crazier. Things to consider when you're talking about goals. Consider when you're thinking about evangelism, consider your weaknesses, your strengths, your available resources, and the needs of the campus, along with the culture of the campus. Why do we need to consider the weaknesses of our group? Because the weaknesses of our group, both personal weakness and corporate weaknesses, will help define what you're able to accomplish. Many times we have unsuccessful events because we didn't take into consideration our weaknesses. For example, there are some people that, Brother Randy would tell us about Sebastian. Sebastian can't carry a tune even if it had a handle on it. We used to make fun of him. Don't tell him that we said that, but he knows. And we used to make fun of him. So that was a weakness, and some groups, they had weaknesses. They could not sing. They were full of Sebastians. And so if this is your weakness, when you have a Bible study, don't sing or sing very few songs because you're going to discourage people from coming to your group, right? If you have, identify your weaknesses. In other words, also identify your strengths. Strengths that are unique that are unique to your group, personal and corporate. And these strengths might be what give identity to your student group. It was shared earlier, I think Brother Justin was sharing with us, with our Adventist student group, the strength of our group was that we were international. And you had other student groups, you had the engineers or whatever, and they were all groups that were concentrated, but we had one of the strengths that we used as a strength for our group was it was diverse. We had people from all sorts of different backgrounds. And so we use this as one of our strengths. And perhaps this can be the advantage that you're looking for. Strengths are identified by the specific advantage that they provide or can provide. Look at your available resources. Maybe you have an Adventist professor on campus. You know, ask yourself, spend time, outline, write down, what are the available resources? What are the needs of your campus? This is important for you to know. Is there something that is that your campus is clearly in need of? And what's the campus culture? Is your culture in the United States? We have various different cultures. You have party schools. There are some schools that are partying all the time. That means they have social, that's a social culture. Other schools are intensely academic, and so they have an academic culture. What's the culture of your school? And this is important because this will help inform your ministry. After you've done that, after you've identified your strengths, weaknesses, the culture of your campus and the needs, come up with a concept. What is something that you want to do? And write down your concept, start generating ideas, create a list of strengths and weaknesses in generating those ideas. So if we want to have an evangelistic meeting, let's discuss our weaknesses in approaching this. Let's discuss our strengths. Let's discuss our available resources. Write these things down. And here's a process. After you've done that, you're going to come up with a big idea. You've talked about weaknesses, strengths, the needs of the culture of the campus, the culture. All of this will then begin to generate ideas, and you're going to all of a sudden, through prayer, you're going to come up with an idea. This is what I think we should do. That's great. That's the first step in planning effective evangelism. You come up with an idea. Let's now test that idea. I come up with this awesome idea in my mind. It's a great vision. I'm going to change and transform the campus. I'm going to lead people to Christ. Now let's cross-pollinate that. Let's test it. Now I'm gonna do that while at the same time Brother William does his same process, Sister Yasmin does her same process. We do this individually, and then after we've done this individually, we come together, and then we begin to share our ideas one with another. This is the idea that I have. You share the idea that you have. Everyone shares the idea that they have. We share our ideas. Do these ideas inspire any modifications or new potential? That's the question we want to ask. And then in some cases, I might have this idea of, I'll give you an example. On the campus of Michigan State University here in the United States, there's a large homeless population. You have students who come who have a full scholarship to the university, but they don't have any place to live. And so the idea was, why don't we find a way to provide food or some type of even temporary housing for our students? This idea surfaces, and then it might then be modified. We don't have any place to put them. How can we provide housing for them? All right, so because this is a weakness, let's focus on the strength. Do we have a way to provide food for them? Well, we don't have any money or any way to provide food, but we do have the ability to contact other businesses to provide food. So then there's modifications to the idea, or there's changes to the idea. Maybe instead of that, we should have a building project and build houses. So there's either a modification or a potential new idea. Idea reviewed. Now the group, after you've shared your various different ideas, let's talk about the ideas that you really like and the ideas that you have concern about. So William's idea, Brother William's idea, Sister Yasmin's idea, we like them. We don't like my idea too much. We have concerns with your idea. So we categorize them. Great ideas, bad ideas, potential modifications to the ideas. You write these down. Now let's implement them. Identify the required resources. There's not just only going to be financial resources, but human resources, physical resources. Are there other resources that we need in order for us to accomplish this? What are the obstacles? Sometimes in envisioning, we forget to identify obstacles, but are there obstacles that we must overcome? And after we've done this, after we've identified our obstacles and our resources, then let's select the ideas that we want to accomplish. Let's eliminate even the good ones. If they're painful, even though it might be painful to eliminate good ones, let's eliminate them and let's prioritize what are the most important items that we can accomplish that are going to set us up for success. And so this, we believe, is going to be our strongest idea. So we do that, we prioritize that, and we build around this. So this is our big idea. Our year is going to be surrounded by how we're going to effectively accomplish that. And after we have done that, we create a master plan. How do we create a master plan? Get a calendar out and start creating an event, a master plan of evangelism, by saying, okay, if we're going to hold an evangelistic meeting in September, what do we do in August? What do we do in July? What do we do in June? What do? We plan backwards so that we are prepared for that. We put that on a calendar. And that's how we would create a master plan for evangelism. Put on your calendar. All right, our outcomes, our goals, achievable goals and outcomes. First of all, find a task. Remember that ministry involves everyone. Find a task that everybody can do. Find a task that will include everyone. Why is this important? Because morale will decrease if we have people who are working while others are not working. All right, so it's important for all individuals to be connected, to have a role to play. Find a task for everyone. Another thing that's important for me is assign responsibilities from the top down. In many situations, we put other people to work, but the leadership doesn't have any work to do, or they have the nicer responsibilities as they're viewed by other people. So assign responsibilities from the top down. Let people know, this is what I'm going to be doing if I'm the president of the organization, and based on this, we're going to give other people a job to do. So this is the role of the individual component. The corporate component: set goals that are smart, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, and then make deadlines for people so that we have these action items. And then evaluate your outcome. Evaluate your outcome during the event as you're doing things. How is this going? And then also at the conclusion. At the conclusion, because there's going to be, once things settle, you'll be able to reflect better. Finally, create timelines, short timelines, daily. This is what we need to do on a daily basis. And long timelines, this is what we need to do on a monthly or semester or yearly basis. And if you want to use resources for creating master plans, you can use Lucid Chart, or you can Google flow charts, and that will also help you with that. And the rest of that is resources. This is your goal. You set up your goal. Who's responsible? When it needs to be completed. Measurable. How do we know it's successful or not? And then what are the resources that you need to accomplish that goal? So these are just sheets that you can use. You can also use your own, but that's what we have available for you. So with that in mind, I hope that that's been helpful for you. We'll send you that if you'd like it. That concludes my my presentation. So thank you for your time, and I hope that the Lord blesses you in your endeavors. God bless.